Alrighty, how's it going, guys? It's your host with the most, and today we're going to be bringing you a double dose of analysis goodness. I'll bring you a nice steamy pair of double Ds. Now, I know this video is a little bit late, but that's okay because last night we actually got even more patch changes. So I'm going to be going through them all with you guys today in this video. I'm going to have a separate video on the latest win rates as well, that of course being the double dose I was alluding to. So I'm going to have that in a separate video very soon, later on in the day as well. So keep an eye out for that if that is something that you would like to watch. And if you enjoyed this or any of my videos, feel free to leave a like or let me know in the comments. Speaking of win rates, I'm also going to be releasing the initial reactions tier list. I'll think of a better name for it later, but I'm going to be releasing that sometime soon today. I teamed up with a lot of well-known, high-ranked players, so we should have that out fairly soon. And I mean, it's just an initial reactions. In about a month, we will overhaul it and kind of redo it and update it as best as we can to kind of the current meta. So this is just kind of our predictions, because it's only been like a week that it's been out, or something like that. And then, of course, one final thing to say before I get into the juicy details is to keep in mind that these videos are typically just my initial reactions to the changes. Feel free to agree or disagree on any of them, and let me know. But the first thing, the most obvious thing, obviously, is going to be the combat system overhaul, the mastery system overhaul. Pretty crazy changes. It's pushing us in kind of a strange direction. This is actually a very, very controversial change that Archbears has done. It's probably the most controversial change that's happened so far. There's a lot of people who don't like it. A lot of people who've been very vocal about it, both in the Korean and the English community. And from what I've been told from Archbears, they are 100% planning to change it this March. So don't get too cozy with the new system, because it will most likely be changed very, very soon. But basically, kind of the biggest way to say it is mastery kind of only matters up till the B plus range, I would say. After that, you're stuck trying to chew your way through, like, everybody having 200, 300 armor, and you're dealing, like, what, like 30 damage? It's not a pretty sight. After you hit that range, it starts to get, starts to devolve to kind of armor wars. What the fuck? Okay, give me a second. Sorry about that, but anyways, I actually made a graph to kind of, try to illustrate this trend. Yeah, so you'll see right here, the blue line right here is going to be indicating the old mastery system, and the orange is going to be indicating the new mastery system. So you'll see it, it works out kind of evenly. It's kind of up and down in terms of the old mastery system up until this range right here, which is about the B plus range like I said before. After that, it starts to kind of, the mastery is just a lot less than it was before. This is in terms of the stat attack versus the mastery. So I'll show you the data. I personally myself had a hard time kind of really understanding these mastery changes myself, so it's very likely that I fucked up here. But hopefully this is able to give a kind of good representation of the changes. Again, I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, which, like I said, I kind of expect that I might be, if anyone wants to correct me in the comments, I will pin that comment. So look in the comments. If someone's correcting me, their comment will be pinned. But this is basically the setup that I did. So we've got the mastery itself set up right here. It's going to be the same right here. The old stat attack was really easy. It's just, you put a % sign next to the mastery. It was very, very easy. You just kind of, I was able to just fill it in right there. The new one, I had to actually go onto the new sheet, and I had to type in everything manually right here. You'll see I've got the things on the side, and it's because they, from what I understand at least, they cap out at certain levels. So at each tier, they cap out at a certain level. That's why you see repeats right here, and repeats for a lot of them. You start getting a lot more repeats as you go along. So I filled that in, and then I graphed both against just a regular mastery that we have right here. And like I said, this is what I got right here. So you can kind of see the trend. You can definitely see the difference between the two systems. It starts to, and it really makes sense because each tier takes kind of more hits to reach the next tier than the tier previous to it, if that makes any sense. I mean, it's in the patch notes, so hopefully this makes sense, and hopefully this was actually able to help, because I don't know, I thought I'd throw it in because I thought it might help. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time on this next point, because Nocti has basically already said everything that there is to say, but Archbears is back at it again, fucking around with the random masteries. The most obvious ones here being Alex and Sylvia. Lee Dallin was actually changed as well, but they changed it back. Let's see, yeah, it shows there's a few, where is it? Yeah, there we go. So Yeah, they changed around Dalin's as well. So Lee Dalin's Hand Blunt Blade, all set to E, and then one mastery is going to be chosen randomly to be given up to D. And then they changed it back, so up into, yeah, Lee Dalin's now randomized, but we will release a bug fix patch where Lee Dalin's Hand Mastery will always be handed D. That patch obviously is already released, so this is fixed as well. But anyways, what I was trying to say, they gave Lee Dallin back the D. However, Alex and Sylvia are both kind of shafted in terms of their kind of secondary master. But anyways, let's just take a look here at Alex's masteries. E to D? Whose mans is this? I'm getting Jenny Nerf Vietnam flashbacks all over again. So let me add a little bit of context right here, right? So D in the new system is about 65 to 70-ish, I think. I could be wrong, but it should be around that benchmark. So everyone expected Alex to get E+ as his secondary mastery, but him and Sylvia, like I said, they get kind of shafted right here, and they both just get E, which is roughly equivalent to about 50 in the days of old, in the golden age of Black Survival. So from a design and a lore standpoint, honestly, this doesn't really make a lot of sense, because Alex was always, like, by design, the character who was proficient with, like, any weapon. So now he's only proficient in one weapon, and that one weapon is going to be different each game. Like, I just don't get it, fam. Like, plus, if you roll throw with Alex, then you can't even use you can't even use your ability. You can't even use desperate throw. Like, how are you going to go about designing a character who can't even use his abilities, man? Like, for real. Anyways, this change, obviously, if it goes without saying, but this change obviously is going to be making Alex much less consistent and really takes away from his versatility. And at the end of the day, his versatility was really why he was as good as he was in the past. So the fact that they're taking away that versatility is it's a pretty big blow. It's a pretty big hit to him. Like, this was the exact same thing that happened with Jenny way back in the day. Like, they designed Jenny to be this kind of forgiving character, not really the best at kind of closing out the game, but she's kind of forgiving in the sense that, you know, she's able to kind of withstand being punished. She's able to kind of come back, and then they kind of screw her up to make her like the least one of the least forgiving characters in the game because of how fucked up her random stats how fucked up her health stats are, how fucked up her just everything about her is. So like, I don't know, it's really weird because like they make these characters with really cool designs and the concepts of the designs are really cool, like Jenny and like Alex right here, and then they go and make changes that are kind of counterintuitive to the actual design of the character. So I don't know really what else to say. For the same reason I mentioned Sylvia. Sylvia also got a little bit of the short end of the stick here. Her stats, like I said, just like Alex, are D or E. So you're basically forced to kind of roll with what you get, very much like Jenny. The difference is Sylvia doesn't have 188 max HP, so rolling gun with Sylvia, it's usable. It's nowhere near as atrocious as something like Gun Jenny or Throw Alex, I suppose. So really, at the end of the day, this isn't the end of the world for her. Not in my opinion at least. But yeah, I think she's still gonna be fine. So any Sylvia mains out there, you'll need to put a little bit more work into learning your character, but she's not unviable. It's just you have to put a little bit more work into her. A couple cool things right here as well. Item pop-up screen. Obviously, anyone who's played has seen it, but you'll see right here, it shows you the crafting options when you find an item. So I think that's pretty cool. That's definitely a kind of a cool change. And then we got the stance changes, and like these are some pretty interesting stance changes. Excuse me. So stealth stance, I would say, is kind of in a pretty bad place right now. Like even with the added armor, you got to kind of think about it in terms of hits. And someone in the Discord said this, and I actually really liked how they explained it, so I'm just going to quote them. I think this was Noctis. I could be wrong, though. I'm pretty sure this was Noctis's quote, but I liked the quote because I think it really explained the stances pretty effectively. But anyways, so basically, if you're in stealth stance and they're in offense stance, then they will find you like 10% less of the time, while you'll be finding them 30% less of the time. If you put it in terms of numbers of hits, then the armor doesn't really make that much of a difference. Like, it's actually detrimental for you, I would say, to go to stealth versus someone there, because they're just going to find you way too much, and they're going to be hitting you way too much to really make it worth it. But they tweaked these numbers around a little bit, so you see here we have armor from negative 10% to negative 20%, and then in the next one we have down to 15%. So Still less armor than it was originally, but not down to the 20%. So a 5% change in total, but they also gave a 5% stat attack increase. So you gain 5 here, you lose 5 here. So overall, I think it's kind of nice. It's a cool little addition right there. After that, let's see. This is a bitch right here. I do this literally all the time. Like I start resting and then I open the map and I open my this is gonna like annoy me for the longest time. It's just I feel like it's like the reverse of a quality of life change. Like I feel like if this was already the way it was before and then they changed it so that it didn't cancel, that would be a quality of life change. So this is like an anti-quality of life change. I don't like this change. I really don't like this change at all, but what can you do? This, I feel like, real talk, there has to be a story behind this, right? There has to be something behind this. Like I don't know what it is. I don't know what the story is, but there has to be some story, some reason that they're removing it. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna say that they got threatened to be sued, because I don't think they were. But like, there has to be something. Like, there has to be some reason that they took it down, because like they wouldn't just take it down, say we respect it. There has to be some reason for this. But anyways, that's kind of funny. Hunwu, they did a lot of removing skill damage, which is kind of cool. Overall, I think this, like, they remove skill damage from a lot of people, and then they just added 10% damage. I think this is better for Hunwu in the long run, because he only deals like 5 anyways, so the skill damage it's gonna be more noticeable to just have the attack. So the attack. So yeah, I think in terms of for Hunwu, I definitely I like the change of changing it from skill damage. And then there's a bunch of other people as well for skill damage. Where is it? Yeah, Camilo and Bernice, both of them, like Anima Ladron and Leg Shot, both were good because of the effect, not because of the skill damage. So this isn't like really a nerf to them or anything like that, these changes. And yeah, I think those are the only skill changes, which are kind of cool. Let's go back up. Zahir, I mean, this is kind of interesting. Like, it's essentially like it's essentially doubling the cooldown and then cutting the damage in half, because like the modifier is like enemy animal kills minus your animal kills multiplied by 2. So yeah, it's essentially dividing. It's essentially cutting the damage in half. This is actually really funny. Like, if you go look on the actual game itself, the equation is obviously in parentheses, right? Enemy animal kills minus your animal kills, close bracket, multiplied by 1. So, like, obviously it's because the old equation had the 2 right there, but right now there's just a 1 multiplied by 1. It's the most redundant thing ever. Like, it's the funniest shit to look at. You just see multiplied by 1. So yeah, I don't know. I find that shit's like super funny. So it still deals skill damage. Just here's, I guess, one of the, it's a conditional skill damage. Like, if you look at it, Archbears seems to be kind of trying to move away from like raw skill damage. Like, characters who deal just raw burst damage in terms of skill damage, like Alex or Aya or even Shuichi, I guess, they're kind of unique now in that sense of that they deal a lot of skill damage. And the only other characters who kind of deal skill damage that are significant enough, the other deal like very little skill damage, like Kathy, since like arteriometry is more useful for the effect, or they're conditional skill damage, like here, it's very conditional based off kills, right? Conditional like Yuki, you have to have perfect fit intact. Cicella, based on your pain stacks, or Jenny, based on, it's conditional based on your opponent's HP. So they're definitely moving away from this idea where your combat ability just deals the damage. They're moving into they want that to be more unique to these characters, and I like that. I actually like that a lot, if I'm being honest. I think that's a cool change. Let's see. So our boy Shulk got hit here a little bit this patch. He was feeling it a little bit too much, if you know what I'm saying. So basically, from what I remember, Archbears had said something like feeling hot was like it was being used way too brainlessly, if that makes any sense. So people just spam that shit with impunity and always got like easy value. So they're trying to make it a little bit tougher to use, a little bit more situational. So basically, you have to kind of think before you use it a little bit more now, which is always good. That's always a healthy direction to take an ability. It's always a healthy change. And don't worry, your Cooking Boy was good before, and your Cooking Boy will be good right now and after this. Zukai, he's still good. Don't you worry. Zukai mains, he's still pretty good. Now, Nadine has actually got some pretty awesome changes. Honestly, in the past, Nadine has always struck me as like an incredibly boring and unrewarding character. Hunting stacks were super tedious to build up, and they rarely had impact in the game, and they could be very easily reset. Felt very, very unrewarding, and the impact felt very low. This might just be me, again, my opinions, this is just what I'm saying, but they felt that they had very, very little impact throughout the game. And honestly, I wanted to have hunting stacks be kind of reworked into having some kind of being permanent and doing some kind of different thing, I suppose. I wanted this change for ages now. So this is actually such a beautiful change. I love this so much. And like, yeah, they nerfed her, they changed her, let me see. They dropped her attack pretty much, right? So 58 to 40 58.8 to about 45. That's a pretty significant like change on paper right now, but like the thing is, if you kill, I think it's 13 animals, that puts you right back at your old attack stat, which is pretty nice. And plus, her attack stat, honestly, it's essentially the same as, like, right here you see 18 to 16, and then right here you'll see 16 to 18. So they throw it right back up. They also change the cooldown to 20 seconds, which is really cool. Like, 20 seconds for for this right here is really, really cool. Stamina revision 10. 10 stamina isn't that much. And like at the end of the day, if you think of it like moving to an area and then searching twice and the animal's not there, and then moving to another area and searching like twice or whatever, and the animal's not there, and then moving to the final area and oh, there's the animal. Think of all the stamina you wasted from there, and you realize that 10 is really not that much of a price to pay. So anyways, her attack stat is the same in the early game, and it's actually tied for the highest early game attack stat in the game with like Adriana and Shuichi, unless I'm mistaken, but I'm pretty sure I'm not mistaken that it's tied for the highest attack stat in the game with those two characters. So it's not like she's gimped. It's really not like she's gimped at the beginning. Her early game is not affected, so she was strong in the early game before, and she is still strong right now. And the difference is she can keep this strength throughout like the entire game, as long as you kind of keep killing animals, keep using your hunter sight, and keep building up those hunting stacks. You're never actually going to gimp yourself from these changes. You're always going to have that massive attack stat as long as, like I said, as long as you keep on top of it. So honestly, I have a lot of high hopes for Nadine right now. I think she's like super underrated. I think people kind of overreacted to these changes. These changes really aren't nerfs. Like, these are really not nerfs. This is, in terms of reworks, I think this is actually one of the best reworks that we've gotten out of any character. Like, if you think of what are some of the other reworks, we've got Omen rework, and fuck Omen rework. Like, honestly, like, Omen rework was so cool on paper. I really liked the idea of Omen rework. When I read it, I'm like, hey, this is really cool. And then I realized, like, the duration is, like, what is it? The duration is, like no time. Like, the duration, like, ends after, like a few seconds or some shit. It's, like, the duration sucks. What other reworks have we had? We've had Kiara's rework. And what did we get out of Kiara's rework? Basically, you can now, like, never use her second ability. So, like, what I don't like reworks where like they make an ability useless, right? But this as a rework is actually, I've said rework way too fucking many times now, it just sounds weird to my ears. But like this change, I really, really like it. This is what a rework should look like. Like it's very different, but like it's very powerful. I really like this. I think people who think that Nadine got nerfed are really, really sleeping on her. I think she is in a very good spot right now. I would even say that I think she might be in a better spot than she was before. And like what I mean by this, obviously, is like she's kind of like Bernice in a sense now. In my opinion, of course, I think she's a bit more like Bernice right now in the sense that Bernice has a very, very high skill ceiling, but you need obviously you need a lot of skill in the first place to get value out of him. If you're shit and you play Bernice, then you're gonna be shit with Bernice. If you're a mediocre player and you play Bernice, you're still gonna be shit. Even if you're like kind of a good player and you play Bernice, you're probably still gonna be shit. But if you're an amazing player and you play Bernice, you're gonna be fucking god tier amazing. Like Bernice in the hands of an amazing player is amazing, and I think this can be very, very. I think this is very similar to Nadine in the sense, like, if you play Nadine and you're shit, then you're gonna keep being shit. But if you play Nadine and you're like an amazing player and you know how to play bow and you know how to take advantage of her things and you know how to keep pressure up on people and you know how to keep hunting animals and build your stacks, then I think Nadine could be a monster. Like, I honestly think that this is an amazing change for her. I really like these changes. Obviously, I haven't tried new Nadine yet, so I could be wrong, but I love these changes. Speaking of, I haven't even talked once about Bullseye, so I've been talking about her for like way too long, but I do want to talk about Bullseye as well. Like, this change is so sick. Like, hands down, my favorite type of game mechanic are Punisher mechanics. So abilities that essentially give you a disadvantage. I'm talking like Arson, Unshackled, Desperate Throw. These abilities really take a lot of skill to use, but when you use them well, they are so satisfying. They're so rewarding. Like, you love getting a kill with Unshackled is one of the most satisfying things in the entire game. So, like, what Bullseye really does is it gives Nadine kind of a finisher ability, which is really cool. If she fucks up, then she gimps herself. She gimps her attack for kind of the next 20 seconds, which 20 seconds isn't really too long. So, you know, it's not like the end of the world. It's not like it's not like if you miss, you lose your hunting stacks or something like that. So, imagine that if Bullseye was like, if Bullseye did like a shitload more damage, but like if you didn't put them below, I don't know, 40% health, you lost all your hunting stacks or something. That would be some funny shit. That would be a very that would be like the definition of a Punisher mechanic. But anyways, the other thing people don't really notice about this ability is like the increased accuracy. And that's such a boon for a ranged character. That's really nice. I like that. So, like, as long as she keeps on top of her animals, she'll have a pretty strong attack stat pretty much through the entire game. But that's kind of enough talking about her. I guess we should move on. ISOL, we don't fuck with the ISOL. Miss me with that gay shit. What do we have here? What do we have here? The king is dead, boys. The king is dead. After long, this is what we've wanted for months now. This is what the community has been crying for months. The Leon meta has come and gone, lads, and I couldn't be happier. I mean, I guess I could be happier, to be fair, if they ever, like, went and actually fixed my damn Jenny, but you know what I mean. You know what I'm saying. Basically, even before his nerf, people were kind of complaining about his damage dropping off late game. Let's be real. People were still kind of complaining about that, and that was back when he had 242 as his as his max health. So now his attack stat is pretty shit, but he doesn't have a backbone. He doesn't have just like a super stupid good health backbone to kind of back it up. So his late game offenses is just as bad. Actually, it's not even just as bad when you think of it. Look at this. It's actually like a shitload worse. Like 18 to 14. Okay, what a fucking massive change. Going from like being tied for the highest attack set in the game to now being just mediocre. Like you're lower than people who are 18. You're lower than people who are 16. Oh my god. And they nerfed his attack growth as well. Oh my god. Good gravy, man. Good gravy. ALMAO. What a fucking meme, bro. Anyways, I'm happy to announce that Fishy Boy is officially dead. We can all start celebrating, and we can all start, you know, you can see people starting at Lighthouse now, whereas, you know, you would never see people start at Lighthouse anymore in the past because fucking Leon, just having a Leon in the game meant you couldn't start at the Lighthouse. So yeah, that's pretty funny. This right here, where is it? They changed Camilo as well. Yeah, this is pretty annoying. So they lowered the duration a lot, which is unfortunate because it really means you get a lot less out of it. Obviously, but they also cut his bonus stats in half. So this kind of makes Duande a little bit more RNG reliant, because if you get a bad stat distribution, then it's like you didn't really get much out of it in the first place. So that's a little bit unfortunate. Yeah, this really gimps Duande a lot, these changes right here. I mean, Camilo, to be fair, Camilo was like stupid strong in the past. He was like stupid strong, and I don't know, this is weird because I don't know, it's weird because like you still have to channel it for a long time, and then the 36 seconds, I don't know. This seems like a pretty big change. I mean, I don't really know what to say. I think Camilo's still gonna be good because Camilo still has the stats, but his abilities are now like, I don't know, because they're such long cooldown abilities. So the thing with Camilo was he always had these like massive impact abilities. You know, he jumps into a battle and he's got these high impact abilities. And the thing was, if Camilo missed his ability, then it immediately put him in the backseat because he was not really, I don't know if I'd say reliant on his ability, but like his ability was such high impact. He would basically he'd have that ability to kind of turn the tides of the battle. So just having all these abilities with their durations lowered, even the bonus stats, I don't know. It really hurts Camilo. I don't think he's gonna be like a bad character. I mean, I guess we'll have to see, right? Like, I honestly don't know what to think about the Camilo change. Like, obviously it's significant, but I really don't know what to think about the Camilo change. That's my analysis. I don't know what to think about it. Oh my god, good gravy. Wiggly change. Now this is a cool change. A lot of people don't like this change. A lot of people, it's kind of controversial to a lot of people, but I really like this change. Like, I really like this. I think it makes things so much more convenient. Like, don't underestimate how inconvenient it is to have to commit 4 inventory slots just to make nanorized arms. That was a bitch to do. So I actually really like this change right now because it really cuts down your inventory space. So you get Holy Blood, you go to the tunnel, and the fact that you can make Holy Blood into Arcane Stone with just going to one area to the tunnel, I really like that because you get the flint from basically the tunnel, the gunpowder and the stone, both from the tunnel. So that's really cool. So you get the Arcane Stone right there, and then all you have to do is go make the motor. And the motor is super easy. You just go to 2 locations and you can make the motor. So I really like this change. It makes, I personally think it makes it a lot easier to make nanorized arms weapons. I like it a lot, and I also really like the first aid box drop as well. I think people kind of underestimate that right now, but I think the first aid kit as a drop, now you basically get Arcane Stone and Holy Blood as one item, and you get the first aid box. So it feels like you really get a lot more from Wiggly, and so I really like this. And like, you can't like getting an injury in the late game is such a bitch. So like getting first aid box as a consistent drop from something in Wiggly just makes it so much more convenient, I guess. I don't know if that's what I'm trying to say, but like, honestly, you can make nanorized arms weapons very quickly right now, and I really like that. And like, there's a huge drop off, but they're indestructible, they're pretty powerful, and you get first aid box off of Wiggly as well. So I really like these changes, honestly. Like, I think these are I really like these changes a lot. I think these are really nice changes for the Wiggly. But I'm just gonna really quickly skim through. Like, you'll see, they just dropped all the, I think, damage is dropped by less than 10, which is really cool because it's really not too big of a deal. I would say, like, all the nanorized arms ones, yeah, like 6, they're still higher than like 50, which is still, like, they're all still pretty powerful, you know. So that's pretty cool. Celt is actually still. Celt might be one of the strongest ones, actually. And like, in the past, I personally think, like, if you would ask me in the past how good Celt is, I would personally say Celt was pretty shit, because if you think of it, like I said, in the past, you needed to commit 4 inventory slots to make nanorized arms, right? And then after that, you essentially are already giving up an inventory slots to bullets. So you've basically got 1 inventory slot for food, and you have to drop everything else except obviously except your bullets. So let's say you use 4 inventory slots, and then 1's for bullets, and then all you have left is 1 inventory slot for food. And then you have to spend all this time making the Celt, and then after that, you're down to this thing where you're like, damn, I've only got 1 inventory slot of food, and like, it's basically the end of the game at this time, so you really don't have much time to go around and get more food. So I hated Celt for that reason. It just took way too much commitment to make the Celt. I don't think I've ever actually made Celt in an actual game. Like, I think I made it in like bot games for practice, just to, like, way back in the day when it was like new and stuff. I tried to practice recipes and stuff in bot games. So I think I made it in bot games, but I've never actually made it in a PvP game. I just take like Arcane Stone and make it into like Boots of Hermes or something. So I'm definitely this change definitely makes Celt much more viable, whereas I personally think it was too much of a commitment for me in the past to make. So basically that. Let's talk about any additional changes we have here. We already talked about the stance changes. Nadine, like I said, we already went over those. This is actually an interesting change right here with Magnus, because Magnus has always been kind of an on-the-fence character. You'd have a lot of people saying, like, oh, Magnus is really good. People just don't realize. And you have a lot of people saying, like, oh, Magnus is shit. His, what's called a tough body it's a shit ability. It's basically a non-ability. But I think the one thing that basically we can all agree on is 1v17 always has been a good ability. Like, it's always been a good ability. So this change is an interesting change because it's taking a little bit off the top right here with the thing that we know for sure is good. So it's taking a little bit off the top. So we'll have to see how this works right here. This says attack, but it's armor for reference, because I mean, we're talking about it right here, so I'll bring it up. It says attack, but in the thing it's actually the armor. So they changed his armor ever so slightly, so it doesn't really matter. overall he basically just got nerfed. So it's interesting because, like, honestly, his usage fluctuates up and down. It just fluctuates so much. So it's really hard to pin down what people think about Magnus. It's really hard to pin down his, like, total potential because, like, a lot of times tough body just does nothing, and a lot of times a lot of times he just doesn't do anything. He's got a good attack stat. He's got a good ability in 1v17, but, like, a lot of times just a lot of his kit just doesn't help him. So it's a very weird scenario. It's very weird. The straight up nerf is just, like, it's got to be annoying. We'll have to see how this works out for him, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I've never been a fan of Magnus myself. I've really never been a fan of him. I don't know. I've always felt that to have an ability like Tough Body, where that's made to be, like, tanky and bulky, and then to have stats that don't really back that up defensively, I've never really liked that. And I've never liked Tough Body in itself. Like, I like the idea of, reducing damage on hits. Like, that's why I like Cicella so much. But Tough Body is, like, it's so conditional that I don't like it. I don't know. That's basically it. Nath Boon, this is actually pretty cool. Increases his stacks. This is basically increasing his damage overall. At 5 stacks, he's going to be dealing 5 skill damage, and he's increased from 12, which is really shitty to start with, up to 14, which is, like, average-ish to start with. So it's just increasing his DPS a little bit, which is kind of cool. He definitely needed that. I would say he's kind of lagging behind in that department. We already went over Camilo. Who cares about dual wielding? It's pretty shitty. I don't like these changes at all. So the thing is, when it comes to armors, I always like additional effects for armors. And I always hate when whenever they try to nerf an armor, when they nerf the effect of the armor. Because the only thing that makes these armors unique are their effects, right? So when you start nerfing armors to the point where their effects are just not really noticeable, then it stops being unique. OPS helmet, this is such a cool concept. At night, you have a higher chance of finding people. Like, that's such a cool concept, because it's a see-in-the-dark fucking thing. I love that effect. That's such a cool effect. But when you start dropping it down from 8% to 12% to 5% to 8%, that's, like, it becomes much less noticeable, and it becomes much less of a unique item, and it becomes just generic helmet, Like, that's basically all it is. Like, all it is now is just generic helmet. So I really don't like, particularly the OPS helmet, I really don't like this change. This is the biggest change for me this is the biggest armor change that I don't like out of these, like, the 2 changes, I guess. Down to 7% as well. Like right now, you're like, well, what's the difference between battlesuits and, like, any other armor? Like, why would you go out of your way to make any of these things? Like, I mean, obviously, for stuff like battlesuit, it's gonna be along the way, but I really like when armors are unique. Like, I would much rather they nerf the armor of an armor, like the armor stat of an armor, if they think the thing needs nerfing or whatever, than to take away abilities. I mean, obviously, just removing from the effect is less of a detriment than removing from the armor, but I'm talking about from a design standpoint. Like, I really like the effects of armors. I really like when you have an armor that does something unique, and that when that unique thing is actually noticeable. But when you start dropping stuff down to 7%, 5%, it's really not noticeable anymore. And you're like, you really don't feel the effects of that. And I really don't like that. Like, it's like if they made a new armor and they gave it a really good ability, but made that ability 1%. Then it's like, well, sure, you made a cool design on paper, right? Like, this right here is a really cool design on paper. Reduce damage for, it's a bulletproof vest. Reduce damage. That's a really cool idea. That's a great idea, right? On paper. But having a good idea on paper that doesn't translate to in-game, it really disappoints me. Because, like I said, like, I really like the idea of unique armors, of having armors that are unique to that build, that route, something like that, right? Like, I really like that. But you get to the point where it's just so unnoticeable. Like, the same thing happened to Battlesuit. Like, I used to think Battlesuit was such a unique idea, and then, they nerfed the rate that you find it, then you nerfed the rate they find it again, and then they change it to if you attack, then if you get hit or if you attack, then the effect goes away for a certain amount of times. And I'm like, at this point, why would you even use Battlesuits? 50 base armor, its effect is rarely ever going to be used. Like, why would you ever use it before? Like, in the past, like I said, in the past, camo suit, yeah, camo suit was, in the past, camo suit was a unique armor. It was a cool armor. It had its own thing. It was, I think it was base 55 back in the day too, wasn't it? It might have been. But it was cool. It was unique. And now it's not unique anymore. Like, now it's just a shitty base 50 armor that rarely ever has an effect. I'm talking more so for like actual offense, people actually playing like an offensive role. Like I guess like if you're still gonna be JP and you want to just hack and shit, then obviously the extra hiding is still extra hiding to a certain extent, the stealth. But I'm talking about for like, you know, back in the day when people used to use guns. People used to use like AK Bernice and like AK, and then you go obviously into positron. So back in those days, people, you know, people could make the battle suit, but like if you're playing like Bernice right now, there's really no reason to make battle. Did I say battle suit? Holy shit! I hope you guys know what I'm talking about because I keep mixing these names up. There's no reason to make camo suit if you're playing a gun character, even if you're building a positron. Like there's no reason to make it because like it's just so. Like the effects are just so like non-noticeable, and like they do this for so many stuff, like so many armors. Like I don't want to go through like a list of armors right now, but like they do this basically anytime they come up with an armor that has a cool effect, like a really cool effect on paper. Every time they come up with a cool effect on paper, they make it so unnoticeable that it's just unnoticeable. I think their quantity. So Dharma Chakra, I kind of like that. Having it up to 36, 38, I like that. That's kind of cool. That's pretty nice. I like that. That's actually a nice change. Because yeah, like it was always dependent on the scroll thing from the temple. So I kind of like that change. I kind of like that change. This is a pretty big change right here. This is really nice. Well, not these. Fuck those things. I'm talking more of the reserve armbands. These are so nice because Law of the Shield was always kind of restricted by a bottleneck at school, so you couldn't make you obviously couldn't make Law of the Shield unless you got Reserve Armband. There's only 3, and they were only at the school, so it made it very tough to break a bottleneck for there, and that's why like this is the main reason why you wouldn't see more people with Law of the Shields. But it is a good armor. It has been a good armor in the past, and right now it's a lot more accessible. And that's really nice. I like that a lot. Like that's another thing. Law of the Shield is a really cool armor with a cool effect. So hopefully they don't nerf. Like what? I hope they don't nerf Law of the Shield or the DE Shield. I hope they don't nerf those abilities. Like what if DE Shield dealt 5 skill damage on you when you miss? Like it would make the ability like just not an ability, you know? It wouldn't take away from the armor, but it would just fuck up the ability. And like the ability is these abilities are so unique, and I like these abilities. So anyways, back to what I was saying. I really like this change. It really makes the shield a lot more accessible. So I'm a huge fan of this. I'm a huge fan of this right here. I think that's everything. Oh yeah, there we go. So they made Alex's desperate throw able to miss, and then they're like, oh fuck, that's probably a shitty idea. So they changed it back. I think it was just because it was bugs. I don't know. Maybe there's a bug or something. But anyways, the point is they added it back, but they said they're going to be considering removing it again. So that's a little bit unfortunate. I think they're just going to give up on Alex. Honestly, I think they're not. I don't think they are going to change Desperate Throw so you can miss it. I think they're just going to give up on Alex and not change him ever again. Now that they kind of fucked around with his random stats, because like that's what they did with Jenny, right? They fucked Jenny up so that she was terrible, and then they just never touched her again. Like it's been like half a year and they haven't touched her, and she's been like sitting around to like an 11% win rate for like the entire time. We went over Lee Downs' master is back. Blue Snake is working bug inconsistently. That's a little bit unfortunate. Lennox is actually pretty cool. Like Lennox is pretty good right now. This right here is like. I think, I don't know, like, we've been complaining that Jenny is, like, terrible for, like, about half a year, so they're just like, whatever, just, like, give her a useless buff, and then you'll be fine. So, like, what does this even do? From a design standpoint, first of all, from a design standpoint, I don't like this. Like, does Double Shot going through Play Dead is good. Like, it makes sense, because you shoot twice. It makes sense. I really liked, from a design standpoint, that it was able to go through. Like, as a Jenny main, like, I really liked that I was actually able to go through you with Double Shot. I don't like that I can now live Double Shot. I think, from a design standpoint, it's dumb. I think it doesn't make sense. I think it makes Double Shot less of a novelty. Like, in the idea... Because the novelty of Double Shot has always kind of seemed that it's, like, you shoot twice. But now, the fact that I can't kill Play Dead takes away that novelty, and it makes it seem as if it's just one instance of burst damage. It's not Double Shot, it's rather single strong shot or some shit like that. Like, fuck, I don't know. But I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I don't like that change. And, like, I also don't like this change because, like, they're probably, like, gonna buff Jenny, like, once, and we got stuck with a useless buff. Because, like, I don't know, like, Jenny's been sitting around with a really, really shitty win rate for the longest time. She's been a really, really shitty character for the longest time, so she was bound to get some kind of buff eventually, and they wasted it on something as useless as now you can live a double shot. Whoop-de-doo! That's the buff we get. So she's still really shitty masteries with her really shitty weapon masteries with her kind of random stats. She still has really shitty HP with 188. She still has really mediocre, really shitty revenge play. So but now she lives a double shot. So we don't have to buff her again, guys. There's this, but like we said, we changed that. Who cares about that? This was actually interesting. I didn't even know that the Zahir thing was a thing. I didn't even know that Eye of Azrael wasn't able to locate corpses like that. So that's kind of cool. I guess that's kind of a nice change for it. But yeah, I guess that's everything. I'm going to go over the win rates in another video, as I mentioned. So yeah, feel free to leave a like on this if you enjoyed it. Let me know if you thought I don't know, if you thought I rambled or if you thought I should have put more focus onto anything. But yeah, I guess I'll see you guys next time.